I made a mistake and I want to fix it, even though it's sort of subtle. A huge component of this channel is reading, and I recently mentioned a couple of books that I had been reading, specifically these monstrously long fantasy books by Brandon Sanderson. This first one is 1,000 pages, and the second one is 1,200 pages, and I read the third one, but I didn't buy it, in part because I'm broke, and in part because part of what I want to do on this channel is to represent authors that have historically had less representation. Brandon Sanderson is a New York Times bestselling author, and he's one of the most accomplished fantasy writers that exists. He does not need my help promoting his work. But I made a mistake when I was covering this book, and I want to rectify it. I almost made a whole doodle for this, but it's actually a little simpler than that. I conflated prioritarianism with elitism, and that is incorrect. Prioritarianism is just look out for the little guy. Etarianism. It could take the form of affirmative action. In our history, it could take the form of reparations, or it could take the biblical form of what Jesus said when he said, whatever you did for the least of my people, you did for me. Elitism is like my taste is better than yours, and what you like is derivative or less real. I think I implied this when I was talking about Brandon Sanderson. I implied elitism when I meant to imply prioritarianism. And I could just say that it's because I just messed up communicating, but I don't think that's all the way honest. I think it's because I was raised with a lot of elitism, and it's still in me, and I have to like excise it, and I'm apologizing for this little way that I did it. A different way to say that is that reading fantasy still counts as reading, as real reading. Two reasons that I want to explain this. First is that yes, this channel is about books, but I've also learned that for many people, the value in this channel is metacognition. Not just the content, but the way that I approach learning is of value to people. Truthfully, I did not expect this, but it is an element that has become a developing element of the channel, and I don't want to be projecting that reading fantasy is somehow not reading. Finally, I used to be elitist about horror movies because I thought they were like morally bad or something, and then I met a woman who had been traumatized and was using horror movies as a way to work through the trauma. And as soon as I learned that, my entire perspective on art changed. Many of the things in this book are oriented towards grief and towards guilt and towards accountability and relationships breaking down and even broader themes of colonialism. There's a lot happening in here, and it is happening in an extremely fun, fantasy-tastic way, but it is still happening. Reading fantasy counts as real reading. Mistake rectified. I hope. Talk to you in the next one. Join my Patreon so I can afford to buy the third book and put it on the shelf. Have a good night, everyone.